Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. It is time now for Education Matters. We love this segment. We are here with Dr. Craig Douglas again. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Douglas.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today we are celebrating Black History, and we are talking about some local trailblazers leaving a lasting legacy on Mid-Michigan. So talk to us a little bit more about that. Some trailblazers, Dr. Douglas.
As educators, it's important that we understand those who have gone before us, and I credit my good friend Jerome Buckley, who publishes the Michigan Banner, for the idea of this segment. I'm looking at public servants, African-American public servants, and that's a long, long list, and I know it's a slippery slope to try and narrow that list for this segment, but I'm going to do it. I'm kind of basing it upon my own lens in terms of people that have shaped me as I have lived my life. And the first one I'm going to cite is Representative Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm served in Congress. She was the first African-American elected to Congress back in 1968. She lived basically until the year 2005. So she served in the 60s and the 70s in Congress. In 1972, Representative Chisholm was the first African American to announce a candidacy for president. And that's where I recall seeing her at the Democratic Convention in 1972. Watching the convention, Chisholm spoke with passion and clarity. She made a strong impression upon me, and I'm not alone. Our own Vice President, Kamala Harris, has cited Shirley Chisholm for blazing the trail for her candidacy for president, and now as our first African-American vice president.
Yes.
So Shirley Chisholm is the first one that I'm going to cite. She served in the House of Representatives until 1983 and was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama, our first African-American president, posthumously in the year 2015. For my next selections, I'm going to look local. I'd like to highlight our mayor, Henry Marsh. Henry Marsh lived until 2011. After serving in World War II, he came back to work on his undergraduate degree at the University of Knoxville in Tennessee. Then he came to Michigan to do his law degree work at Wayne State. I think that's what attracted him to the Saginaw area. He practiced law, and then he decided to make a run for the Saginaw City Council and was elected in 1961. Back then, Colette, that was a very big deal.
Yes.
He served as our mayor pro tem in 1965, and then in 1967, Henry Marsh became Saginaw's first African-American mayor. And at that time, I believe there were only 3 African-American mayors in the whole United States.
Wow.
He led Saginaw through some of the most serious civil rights discussions and challenges ever faced during his tenure. I met Henry when I came to Carleton in 1995 as superintendent. At that time, he was still practicing law. He was a large community figure, giving of his time to organizations like Leadership Saginaw. That was a training that I attended, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. I was in the class of 1998. Henry was predominant during that time, and he also gave of his time to Habitat for Humanity. The Henry Marsh Institute for Public Policy still exists today at Saginaw Valley State University, and it reflects Henry's service as a public servant. Third, I'd like to cite a good friend, the Honorable Terry Clark. Judge Clark was the first African-American judge in our community. That was in 1990, and he still serves in that role with distinction. He graduated from Buena Vista High School. He went to the University of Michigan for his undergraduate work.
Nice.
That's a toss to you, Colette.
Yes, I love it. Go blue.
And then he earned his law degree at the Thurgood Marshall School of Law at Texas Southern University. Extensive experiences, leadership roles, and associations like the Michigan District Judges Association, where he's a past president, the Association of Black Judges of Michigan, the State Bar, the Saginaw County Bar, and he's a lifelong member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. And once Judge Clark kind of broke through We have other African American judges that have served with distinction, and I'll just name Judge M.T. Thompson, who's retired, the Honorable Darnell Jackson, and the Honorable Manville Trice III are each still serving. My fourth selection's a personal favorite because he's a graduate of Carleton High School. He graduated the year after I retired as superintendent. His name is Ron Owens. He's an undergraduate student at Michigan State University, but he's been drawn to public service. Get this, Colette.
Yeah.
He's had internships with Congressman Kildee, Senator Stabenow. He worked tirelessly for Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, for Governor Whitmer's campaign in 2018, and most recently for President Biden's campaign for president. And Ron works in the executive branch of the state of Michigan for Governor Whitmer. I cite him as an emerging public servant and personally someone I could not be more proud. I've seen pictures of Ron on Facebook with each of these individuals. It's incredible to see that. I cite these as 4 examples, and probably you could make a case that there's quite a list that I didn't cite. People like State Representative Amos O'Neill, who's now in his first term, our Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. Many examples for Black History Month consideration. I challenge all viewers, all of us, to continue to research and learn the legacy of these public servants in honor of Black History Month.
Dr. Douglas, may I just ask you this? Why is it so important for us to remember these trailblazers, especially the local ones right here, and to keep their legacies living on?
Well, anytime anyone's first to anything, it's a very big deal. But think about the context in which these public servants have emerged. In Ron's case, he's very young, right out of high school, hasn't finished his work at Michigan State University yet, but yet because of his skill set has been drawn into unique experiences. And then you think of Henry Marsh serving during the Civil Rights era. And all the controversy that he endured. I wasn't here then, but I've heard stories. It was a very, very tumultuous time. Then you think of Shirley Chisholm taking the microphone at the convention as a congressman or congresswoman.
Yes.
And really unknown to the public, and yet with the courage that she showed, it was a great impression.
And they're great role models for the younger ones to look at them and say, hey, I can do anything that I put my mind to it. It doesn't matter what color I am, what religion or anything. We can do it, and we can all work together for a common goal. Thank you so much for bringing these very important trailblazers to our attention this morning.
I got to admit, it was a fun segment to prepare for.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and stay well.
And we can see your passion about that, Dr. Douglas. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. For more information about today's topic, check out the School Source page on WNEM.com.